Okay, in this section we're going to be talking about grammar, and I'd like to start by talking about the approach we're going to be taking to grammar on the course, the way we're actually going to be considering grammar. Now, grammar is very often considered as a set of abstract structural rules, you know, the sort of thing. Some can only be used in affirmative sentences. You can't use some in negative sentences. Verbs of perception like know, understand and so on can't be used in the continuous and progressive. Or after if, you don't use will, that sort of thing. Okay? Quite abstract, no particular reason for them, they're just presented as if that's how it is. We're going to be taking a very different view of grammar. We're going to be seeing grammar as being meaning. In other words, we're going to be taking a notional approach. We're going to be saying that the grammar of a language provides ways of expressing different concepts. And what the speaker actually says will depend on what concept he or she wants to express. If I want to express the concept, for example, of uncountability, I'll put a noun into the uncountable form. If I want to express volition, which is expressed in English by will with the infinitive, I'll use will. Whether it's after if or not makes absolutely no difference. For example, if I said, if John will help us, all our problems are over, okay, I've got will after if. Why? Because there's the concept of volition, what John is willing to actually do. If John will help us, if John is willing to help us, then all our troubles are over. Let's take another example. Let's look at the one that I just said of countability. Before you looked at this video, you were asked to look at a list of words and decide, are they countable or uncountable? I'm going to be arguing that you can't answer that question because it depends how you see them. It depends on your worldview. Now, obviously, our worldview is often quite conventional. When we look at a book or when we look at a piano, we see a distinct object, and therefore we express book and piano as countable nouns. But that doesn't mean that they can't be used as uncountable nouns, which the grammars would often have us believe. Let me give you an example. I'm going to change your worldview. Imagine you're a termite, and more than that, you're a mummy termite, and you've got a little baby termite, and he's hungry. So what do you say to him? Come into the sitting room and have some piano. Change your worldview from a human viewpoint to a termite's viewpoint, and you change the meaning that you want to express. This time, instead of seeing a piano, as we humans do, as a distinct object, as a termite, you see it as a substance, food, and therefore you express it uncountably. Come into the sitting room and have some piano. So what does that mean? It means that if we present words as being either countable or uncountable, we're going to tie ourselves in knots because we're going to keep coming across words like cheese or noise or difficulty or knowledge or even piano, as we've seen, which are sometimes used countably and sometimes used uncountably. If, on the other hand, we just see that there is the notion of countability, uncountability obviously, and that depending on how you want to see something, you choose one form or the other, then we're getting away from a structural rule, okay, and we're saying, okay, there is this meaning that we might want to express, and depending how you see something, you will choose to make the word countable or uncountable in form. Now that's a very, very different approach from saying that information is uncountable and piano is countable. So it's my view of the world which determines the concepts that I want to express, and therefore the grammatical forms which I choose to use. And the key word there is choose. It's not that I'm constrained to use piano as a countable noun. It's simply that normally I see a piano as being an individual object, not as a mass, because I'm not a termite. Similarly with verbs of perception. Normally, if I'm talking about something which I know, which I understand, I see it as being a timeless, permanent event. I know how to ride a bike. True yesterday, true today, true tomorrow. I don't see it as something dynamic, unfolding in time, in progress at the moment. And so I don't choose to use the progressive. But if I do see it like that, and if I want to, I can. There's nothing to stop me. Something I heard the other day, somebody talking about a course, which wasn't this one, but about a course. I found it very difficult at first, but I'm understanding it a lot better now. She saw her understanding as being a dynamic thing in progress, and so she used the progressive. Let's take another example, the some example. You know the usual rule. Some is used in affirmative sentences, any is used in negatives and interrogatives. Oh, and yes, there are these exceptions, like, would you like some more wine? Yes, but, you know, in requests, okay, we can use it. Every time you see exceptions to a rule, start doubting the rule. What it actually means is that the rule that's been given doesn't explain at all. Okay? What about a sentence like, if we hadn't taken some water with us, we would have been in trouble. If we hadn't taken some water. There you've got a negative sentence with some. Some can be used in any type of sentence. It can be used in affirmatives, interrogatives, negatives. It has got nothing to do with the structural pattern of the sentence at all. The rule for the use of some and any is a rule of meaning, a notional rule. And it's the notion of assertion and non-assertion. What do we mean by that? If I assert something, then I'm saying that it exists or it's true. Okay? So, for example, if I say there are some pens on the table, I'm saying the pens actually exist. And if I don't want to assert the existence of the pens, then obviously I can't use some, and I use any instead. Any is non-assertive, so there aren't any pens on the table. Okay? That's why in a sentence like, I don't think there are any pens on the table, we've still got any, although in the clause that it's actually used in, the clause itself is affirmative. Similarly with questions, if I ask, are there any pens on the table, then what I'm suggesting is that I don't know if they exist or not. So again, I'm not asserting their existence. It's a non-assertive sentence. If we go back to our wine example, then you've got the possibility of, would you like some wine, because I'm asserting that the wine exists, or would you like any more wine? Now there it's interesting because I'm no longer asserting the existence of the wine. What I'm not asserting, the non-assertive side of it, is that I don't know if this want for the wine actually exists. So it's quite interesting that the assertion can either be of the thing itself, or it can be of a need or a want or whatever around that object. So that's what we mean when we say that grammar is notion, is meaning. The grammar of the language, the forms of the language, whether forms for countability, for verb forms or whatever, give us a way of expressing meaning. And depending what meaning I, the speaker, want to express, I'll choose that form. So if I want to assert the existence of the water, then I'm going to use some, regardless of whether it's in an affirmative, negative or interrogative sentence. And that's the approach we're going to be taking on the course. We're going to be examining different grammatical forms from the point of view of what meaning do they express, and then showing students, in terms of teaching the grammar, showing students how they can express those meanings by using the grammatical forms.